Hello, my name is Matthias Brochhausen. I'm an associate professor of biomedical informatics at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences. I have worked with BFO for a little more than 10 years. My work focuses on biomedical data and its semantic integration. That includes biological data, clinical research data, and public health related data. In working with these different types of data, you encounter quite a variety of colleagues working in different fields. And I think it's really useful to have one consolidated and validated way to view the basics of what kind of entities you will encounter in your domain of discourse for each of your projects. My projects range from drug-drug interactions, where we talk a lot about physiological processes down to the molecular level, but we also talk about drug products and prescriptions and all of those entities up to the organizational structure of trauma care organizations such as trauma centers or trauma systems. So you can see that my research really spans a wide variety of the granularity that we will find in biomedical data. Now, working with colleagues from these really different domains, it makes a difference if you have a way to get them into a mindset that fosters building an ontology, and that really is always a kind of a learning curve for each of those colleagues, because the way that they usually view their field is based around the workflows that they do or the organizational structure and its part. It is not necessarily a way that is conducive to ontological analysis. I really found that using BFO helps them to make a fast transition from this is the way we look at it in our day-to-day routines, and this is the way that we want to look at it for the specific purpose of data representation. And those are really important issues because the distinctions that we need to look at are, for example, the distinction between a person and the person's role. A person in a health institution can be, for example, both a patient and a provider at different times, right? Because the same person who is a physician today might also see a colleague in the same healthcare provider institution the next day. So it's really important to keep those types of entities separate. And BFO really helps a lot with that. So I think that this is one of the strengths, that BFO really provides a rich, logical, and semantically meaningful way to represent data about different domains. It is fairly easy for people to understand how BFO works, or better, what kind of distinctions BFO makes, because there's a lot of documentation out there. Notably, there is a whole book written about how to build ontologies using BFO that has proven to be really useful. So people use these resources and then they are enabled to help with making ontological distinctions relevant to the data representation at hand. I think that is really one of the biggest advantages of BFO. BFO also is a great tool to help students to develop the ability to build semantically rich and consistent ontologies, because BFO works like a set of drawers that you can put entities from your domain in based on distinctions that BFO provides. And usually my experience is that it really helps students, but also colleagues who collaborate in ontology-based projects, to get into that mindset of, okay, I'm now not representing according to my workflow. I'm representing based on overarching or more foundational principles, because I'm creating something that maybe people want to reuse with a completely different workflow or at a completely different organization. These are the really important aspects of ontology development. Typically, when we build ontologies, we don't think about we only want to use them in this application or only in this institution. We really want to be able to create ontological representations that can serve multiple purposes in multiple places. So I think BFO is a great tool for that, and I hope that many more people within the biomedical domain take up BFO, and certainly also outside the biomedical domain, because that will make semantic integration of data that crosses the border from biomedicine to another domain, like finance, much more convenient, and it'll facilitate that process a great deal. Well, thanks a lot.